Hey guys, welcome to the video. I'm trying to get into the habit of posting videos to this channel, so I thought I'd just start off with a little Monday motivation one. It's a little bit late in the day over here in the UK, but I suppose most musicians probably work on the music in the evening anyway, and to be honest, I thought of the video 5 minutes ago and I'm just going to go for it. So the thing that I wanted to talk about today is Dave Grohl writing the first Foo Fighters album, because this seems to be something that people bring up when you're just starting out as a musician and you don't really know what you're doing. You know, a lot of people like to bring it up as a kind of, a kind of inspirational point, as a kind of inspirational point. It is really, really cool to know that a man has been able to build such an enormous band out of basically off his own back. It's nice to know that if you want to be in a band but you don't have the people, you can get there later. It's also nice to know if you've been in a band and you have other stuff you want to do, you can make something of that as well. Although there are many other examples, I think it's a good example of an artist that's just sort of universally known and pretty easy to sort of default to, really. And I think that particularly when you're starting out, like I say, when you don't know what you're doing, it's a very good thing to draw inspiration from, whether you're a solo artist or whether you're in a band. If you're on your own, you can say, if someone can do it, I can do it. If you're in a band, you can say, if one person can do it, all four of us can surely do it. But at the end of the day, I think there's only so far that you can really take it as inspiration, or rather, so far that you should take it as inspiration. Because the one thing you need to remember is that the biggest critic you will ever face with your music is yourself. And if you're constantly saying to yourself, if one person can do this, I can do this, that very quickly becomes, if one person can do this, why haven't I done this? And then you start setting yourself goals that are not necessarily realistic for what you can achieve in your time. It might not have even been possible, you might not have even physically had the circumstances to do the work that you think you should have done in that time. The thing you got to remember is that Dave Grohl was already a rich and successful musician when he wrote the Foo Fighters debut album. He already knew what he was doing, and as far as I could ascertain when I read about it years ago, he just did it sort of for the hell of it. He did it for something to do. And if it's not exactly like he was some drummer in his bedroom in a little tiny studio trying to make something of himself because he didn't have anyone else to work with. It's kind of just something he did, and it's a really good album. It's a brilliant album, and if you are starting out, I think it's worth listening to as well, because it's just kind of a bit different, I would say. And I think listening to music that hits you a little bit differently when you're just starting out to write stuff is really, really helpful. I think another good example of this is Billie Eilish. When she first came out, a lot of people were saying she's done it all off her own back. She's done it all. Her and her brother have done all the work. And I'm sure that they did. I'm not taking that away from them. But the fact of the matter is, they are in better circumstances to do that than I am, for example. Coming from the family that I come from, the Eilishes definitely have more money than I do. I don't know how rich they are. I don't know what her brother's education in sound design is. I don't know what her education in music creation is. All I know is that they definitely had more money than I did. And at the end of the day, that gives you a good starting point. It's a cynical point to make, but it is true. The more money you have, the better your circumstances are. That's the world we live in. And I'm not criticizing what they've done. I'm just saying that the fact of the matter is, you shouldn't compare yourself to them unless you are in similar sort of circumstances. And there's probably plenty of artists out there that have made like albums that you would blow you away off their own back, out of their own bedroom, by just basically the love of doing it and the passion of making that album. And there's probably some stuff out there that would blow you away, if you can find these artists that are basically closer to your circumstances than these mainstream artists would be, for example. I think, in the modern day and age, it's actually not all that difficult to put out a good quality record. So there's probably plenty of stuff out there that would just really click with you, from people that would be more realistic in comparing yourself to. That being said, I don't really think you should compare yourself to anyone. I think you should go at your own pace. But you know what I mean. If you want to draw inspiration from anyone, you don't really want to lean on one person for inspiration too heavily and it start to be a kind of negative factor acting upon yourself. So definitely remember and draw on the influence that you can make an album off your own back without any other band and develop that into a band later and be successful that way. But don't forget that David Grohl was rich and successful by the point that he came to do this, and you don't compare yourself to it too much. Go at your own pace, do what feels right for you, because otherwise you're just going to have a terrible time of making music, and that's kind of counterproductive, really, isn't it? That being said, guys, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.